In Palestine, the indiscriminate shelling against Gaza by the Israeli regime continued on its 19 days, and health authorities registered over 6,500 people killed so far. In Venezuela, the public prosecutor's office launched an investigation into the primary held by the center of the opposition. In Grenada, a ceremony to honor and remember the Cuban comrades who died during the U.S. invasion of Grenada 40 years ago was held near the Maurice Bishop International Airport. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the death toll after 19 days of Israeli strikes against the Gaza Strip rose more than 6,500. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 2,704 deaths were children and 1,584 women. The Israeli attacks have so far left another 17,439 wounded. And in the last 24 hours, more than 750 Palestinians have been killed and another 1,142 injured. The bombardments by the Israeli occupation forces have lasted since October 7th and continue to destroy infrastructure of hospitals, schools, mosques, churches, and civil government institutions. Israeli occupation forces continue threatening hospitals in Gaza. Our Gaza correspondent Amrab Dahul is at the Al-Quds hospital with the latest details.
West of Gaza City. This is the Al-Quds Jerusalem hospital that Israel threatened more than once and demanded its evacuation in preparation for its bombing as part of its policy aimed at bombing more hospitals in Gaza. The scene here speaks for itself. Thousands of displaced Palestinians left their homes in the face of the intensity of the Israeli bombardment. Some of them lost their homes as a result of the destruction by the Israeli war machine. Inside, the scene may seem more difficult. 7 floors make up this hospital, all of them full of displaced people. Israel has more than once asked the hospital administration to evacuate it, but the administration here insists on staying and confirms that it will continue to provide services to many patients, including hundreds of wounded and sick. I will speak with Dr. Bashar Murad, director of Al-Quds Hospital. Doctor, may God grant you good health and thank God for your integrity. Tell us, doctor, what is happening?
Of course, in the name of God, since the beginning of the war, of course, this place has not been intended as a place of refuge, but since the beginning of the war, a large number of citizens have taken shelter in Al-Quds Hospital, where now the number exceeds 12,000 citizens, in addition to the wards. There are wounded in the department, in addition to the intensive care department. More than 10 patients are connected to ventilators. Now, as you can see, this place has not been rated as a shelter either. We provide everything. We dedicate this whole place to citizens. There are 3 buildings that belong to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. The buildings are the first building of the specialized Moroccan hospital with 7 floors. This building has 10 floors, and the old Al-Quds building has 7 floors. All these buildings are full of people, as you see. I mean, that's the scenario.
What are your options, doctor?
Of course, we have choices before us as health care providers. As you know, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society is a national society affiliated with the International Federation of the Red Crescent. We have the protection emblem, the Red Crescent emblem, and according to the Geneva Convention, we should not be attacked, and our staff in the field and medical institutions should not be attacked. We continue to work to provide services, of course, as you know, to the refugees here, and we provide services to the wounded, and so far we have more than 1,000 wounded that we have treated inside this hospital.
Thank you, doctor. May God grant you good health and may you remain safe and sound. Dr. Bashar Murad, director of Al-Quds Hospital in Gaza. As it is, Israel continues to violate all international laws and norms, bombing hospitals, and continues to boast that they are protected by U.S. and European support.
أكرم دلول غزة الميادين.
On Wednesday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he was shocked by what he called misrepresentation of his statements on the Palestinian conflict. UN Secretary General affirmed that Hamas attacks in Israel do not justify the punishment of the Palestinian people.
I am shocked by the misrepresentations by some of my statement yesterday in the Security Council, as if I was justifying acts of terror by Hamas. This is false. It was the opposite.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said on Wednesday that he was canceling plans to visit Israel because of its immune war against Hamas militias in Gaza. Ankara's relations with Israel froze over an Israeli raid on Turkish ship carrying aid into Gaza, which killed 10 civilians in 2010.
Dear brothers and sisters, of course we had good intentions, but they abused them. We had a project to go to Israel, but it was cancelled. We will not go.
Iranian super leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Wednesday accused the United States of directing Israeli ongoing attacks against the Palestinian people.
In this case, America is the definite accomplice of criminal that is in this crime. The hands of United States are tainted with the blood of the oppressed, children, patients, women, and others. In fact, the United States is in some way directing the crime that is being committed in Gaza. It is the United States that is controlling the situation. Successive visits of the President of the United States, and other evil and oppressive countries such as England, France, and Germany to occupy Palestine is an attempt to prevent the destruction of the usurping regime.
The Syrian army deployed anti-aircraft defenses in the early hours of Wednesday morning to repel an Israeli attack that killed 8 soldiers. The military source said that at 1:45 a.m. local time, Israeli fired missiles from the occupied northern Syria Golan at several military spots in southwestern area. In addition to the deaths, the source confirmed 7 military injuries. 3 days ago, Israeli forces carried out simultaneous attacks on the airports of Damascus and Aleppo. Israel claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it was in retaliation for Syrian missile fire and against Israeli positions. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We'll find news in different formats, new days, and more. All studies coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Wednesday, the Attorney General of the Republic of Venezuela, Tarek William Saab, announced an investigation in relation to irregularities occurred in the primary election held by the sector of the opposition on October 22nd. The Attorney General confirmed the investigation against the National and Primary Commission for the alleged crimes of usurpation of electoral functions, identity theft, money laundering, and criminal association. It is sense the reg also described the primary election process as fraud and announced that the President and Vice President of the National and Primary Commission will be called to testify in the coming days. The Venezuela Attorney General pointed out that there is much evidence that the electoral event held on Sunday is a fraud against the Constitution.
It is crystal clear that they committed a crime on the sidelines of Constitution, so it will have the due aftermath. I feel that we, as announcers, we contribute to a climate of political stability. We respect democracy and Constitution, and most of all, voters. There were some resignations in the context of this mockery on Sunday.
On Wednesday, a ceremony was held in Grenada near the Morris Bishop International Airport, built by Cuba, to honor and remember the Cuban Caribs who died during the U.S. invasion of Grenada 40 years ago. The solemn event was visited by Grenada's Prime Minister Digon Mitchell, the first time a Serbian Prime Minister has attended a ceremony organized in the framework of a U.S. invasion. During his intervention at the event, Prime Minister Digon Mitchell referred to the 25 Cuba does not support terrorism, but support solidarity. In this sense, he called for the lifting of the blockade. It should be noted that the ceremony was also attended by the Governor of General Dame Cecilia Grenade and the leader of the opposition, Dr. Keith Mitchell. The U.S. invasion of Grenada on October 25, 1983 left 69 Grenadians and 25 Cuban deaths and over 400 wounded overall. In China, California Governor Gavin Newsom said he spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping on climate cooperation and met in Beijing on Wednesday, and the latest in a series of visits to China by the U.S. politicians. The head of the U.S. economy powerhouse state is on a well-known tour of China, which Newsom has said will focus on current ecological crisis.
Climate change unless the United States and China collaborate together. The United States and China together represent over 40% of global emissions. And I wanted to express not just my desire to collaborate, but I wanted to substantively work to advance that effort. And we did so the last few days. We just left the meeting with President Xi. We had the opportunity to focus more deeply and substantively on the issue of climate change, on low carbon, green growth. We compared and contrasted some of the work that we are doing in our respective jurisdictions. And we talked about our proud past in relationship to the exchange of ideas and ideals in this space.
On Wednesday in Finland, Greenpeace activists blocked the entrance of a newly opened paper-based factory, one of the largest in the Northern Hemisphere, in protest against sustainable forestry. According to a press release of the organization, around 40 activists took part in the action site in Finland, right next to the Swedish border. Greenpeace calls on the forest industry, the factory owners, and in all the governments to stop with deforestation and rethink the forest management policies. The group demands full respect to EU decisions such as the biodiversity strategy, which entails the goal of stopping biodiversity loss by the year of 2030 and protecting 30% of overall European biomes, 10% of them strictly. On Wednesday, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said that Ukraine is running out of options. During a visit to the forward command center of the Gaza troop grouping in the east of the country, the minister reported heavy losses suffered by Kiev Air Force. Russian units are equipped with unmanned reconnaissance and attack aircraft. The response capabilities allow for 24 Ukrainian aircraft to be shot down in only 5 days. The Eastern commanders are now plotting strategies to deal with the Ukrainian artillery. The minister acknowledged the efforts of its troops and awarded several decorations during his visit. And we have a second short break coming up before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel and teleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, sub-stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to set up to date on the world's more recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. China will send its youngest ever crew of astronauts to the Tiangong space station this week, as Beijing pursues plan for a manned mission to the moon by the end of the decade. Tiangong is a crown jewel of the G1 space program, which has also landed robotic rovers on Mars and the Moon, and made China the third country to put humans in orbit. The station is constantly crewed by teams of 3 astronauts who are rotated out every 6 months. The Shenzhou 17 model carrying the trio to the station is scheduled to blast off at 11:14 a.m. local time Thursday from Jiaguan launch sites in China's northwest. The crew has an average age of 38 compared to 42 for the crew of Shenzhou 16 when it launched.
Throughout the past 2 years, I have often dreamed of going back to space. The space station is our other home that takes us away from Earth and into the universe. In order to return to the space home, I have spent the past 2 years racing against time. I have successfully undergone physical and psychological recovery. Spaceflight has always been my dream and pursuit, and at this moment I feel incredibly excited, fortunate, and happy. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to embark on a space mission for my motherland, which is the utmost honor.
For those who want to know how the art of capoeira will be related to water, the Cuba on the Move team proposes a story of the Director of Hydrology and Hydrology of the National Institute of Hydraulic Resources of Cuba, a correspondent Fabiola Lopez with the details.
They say he's the best-known hydraulic engineer in Cuba today. They call him the Waterman. The truth is that his image is irregular on Cuba's newscast. The Master of Science, Argelio Fernandez, usually updates the country's hydrological situation. His presence on TV was an accident. He never forgets his first time on screen.
That first time was the only time I felt comfortable. I thought it was a game, but they told me, let's do a test, and if it goes well, you stay. That phrase gave me the impetus to stay. Every time people pose me a challenge, I do it well. And in all modesty, that day I was spectacular. I felt nervous every time a little bit in the second, third week. I must admit, reporting on TV has changed my life. When I go out on the street, I'm aware of having an audience. At the onset, people did not know anything about what I reported because it was a new subject, a new discipline. But now people know. Now people manage what I report. They ask me questions.
Argelio is famous in Cuba. Everyone knows his unexpected rainfall runoff, filling of reservoirs and groundwater, but very few know his fondness for capoeira.
Capoeira is in your blood, thus it is in your inside to the death. For capoeira, I didn't even sing in the shower. Practitioners of dance fighting have to sing, have to compose a song at some point. Capoeira's practitioners are not dancers but dance. They're not acrobats but do acrobatics. They are not martial artists but they fight. Loving dance fighting or capoeira is just so, a way of being, a life philosophy.
Argelio siempre fue entusiasta de las artes marciales.
Argelio's always been fond of martial arts and he did karate and taekwondo, but in the latest years he wanted to do something else closer to Cubans' idiosyncrasy, closer to the Afro-Cubans' typical joy, and he found so by the time he went to Brazil. There he was captivated by the sound of a betting boat that led him to a capoeira circle.
Cubans, Afro-Cuban, and Afro-Brazilian cultural practices are much alike. We are very close. Cubans are 100% rhythm. Cubans are 100% joy. Cubans are fighters. Cubans are warriors, and those features have to do with capoeira.
He explains there are stigmas and biases against capoeira. People often attach it to occultism, but his wishes dance fighting have more practitioners in Cuba.
We are willing that practitioners of dance fighting gain further recognition, that is, to remove current stigma and biases against capoeira, and most of all, current practitioners must contribute to remove those negative opinions. When people see me, they think if Argelio, who is a public figure, an official, a professional, an engineer, a scientist, practices capoeira, it has to be a good sport, and particularly by the time they visit the dance fighting circle, people will notice capoeira's cultural baggage.
A Argelio le gusta polemizar.
Argelio likes debating. He warns race and racial biases should be further discussed.
In a certain way, I'm far from the stereotype of the black criminal, the black dancer, the folklore black. I'm far from the current stereotype of practitioners of dance fighting existing in half the world, which is the black man with dreadlocks and no shirt. I'm far from all stereotypes. So, many people sometimes say, you speak very good. And no, I speak as good as many people, but as I am black, I am more noticeable. I say I'm proud of being black. I mean, I've been practicing a black martial art for 16 years. I've been practicing a black religion for 25 years. And I've been black for 51 years. Hence, the subject of race captivates me along everything it comprises.
Argelio is an engineer, a television presenter, a practitioner of dance fighting, and a religious man who practices the U.S.A. cult but reinvents himself every day. He says he enjoys having plenty of projects, among them inserting the Cuevana Aqueduct in the World Network of Water Museums and contributing to the spread of dance fighting or capoeira in Cuba.
Fabiola López, telesur, La Habana.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, and before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events and tell you the stories of the people of the South and break the hegemonic media dominance. And you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social medias, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosaba. Thank you for watching.